All right, here we go. We are now recording.
Awesome.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is Digital Day with Crazy for Cryptos, doing another crypto and blockchain update. Today on my interview, I've got Jake Boyle, who's with a crypto broker named Caleb and Brown. Welcome to the call, Jake.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to get you on this call. I've been using your brokerage service, and I've been recommending your brokerage service to buy crypto. I would say probably 6 or 8 months, I believe. I believe that's correct.
Yeah,
And
thereabouts.
yeah, now, first of all, I am very impressed with your service for buying and trading and selling cryptos. And my members, my Patreon members, and my YouTube followers as well, have also been using your services, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback about your brokerage. So I wanted to get you on a call, and for a few reasons. The primary reason is that I get a lot of messages, I get a lot of mail, people saying, "Well, how do I buy, say, Theta, for example?" I've talked about Theta once or twice in my
Of
video,
course.
and T Fuel and Polkadot, Chainlink, et cetera, et cetera. And if you go to Coinbase, you can't buy Theta currently. If you go, Binance does have a lot of cryptos, but I think you guys have a broader array of cryptos that you can offer compared to any just one centralized exchange. Can you tell me a little bit about what you offer and the process of buying cryptos and all the other good stuff?
Absolutely. So we trade in over 1,000 cryptocurrencies. So I think the flexibility is definitely one of the unique value pieces we have as a business. The way that we work is we have multiple departments in our business. The brokers, like myself, are the ones who speak to clients, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that goes into figuring out how can we gain liquidity to these coins? How can we safely trade in them without slipping the market or causing any price-related issues? As a
Mhm.
result of that, we can trade in significantly more coins than exchanges. And in the event that we cannot trade in a coin, you can rest assured there will be a good reason that's in the client's best interest as to why we can't do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes these coins with low liquidity are extremely risky, and maybe they're just, fly-by-night companies or projects or whatever. So no, that makes a lot of sense. But
Exactly.
more than 1,000 coins, I mean, that's definitely more than what Binance offers, and definitely a lot more than what Coinbase offers. But the the key thing, what I like about you guys is that you are able to get a lot of hard to get coins. Like right now, Theta and T Fuel is a little bit difficult to get, particularly T Fuel, and some of these other ones. I don't want to just focus on that project, but um, I do like the fact that you can offer a lot of cryptos. Um, let's start kind of from the beginning, because I kind of dove in a little bit quickly here, but let's start from the beginning. So if a client contacts you guys, or your company, right? What is the process? What is the client approval process? What is the next step for them?
Absolutely. So via our website, clients can begin the process of creating an account. Fairly standard know your customer process. We have a compliance team who will walk through that process with you. So if you do receive an email or a phone call, it's probably going to be from them. Once accounts are created, you'll receive a broker, somebody, maybe even myself. And our job is basically to have the complete end-to-end responsibility of ensuring that you have a well-maintained relationship with the crypto space. We're going to ensure that everything's secure, everything's safe, everything's efficient, so that you can use all the resources that we have to offer. You can actually transact with us before your account is completed. So sometimes clients are seeing the market and they're wanting to rush and get things done right away. All we ask is just communicate that to us. We're always just a phone call or an email away. The sooner you speak to us, the sooner we'll get things done for you, and ultimately make sure it's a real easy process.
Okay. What's the average time for a client approval? Is it a couple of days, or
Um,
longer these days now?
if clients upload all the information right away, it'll absolutely be same day. Sometimes what happens is some clients might put the birthday in a different way around, or they may not have a driver's license or a passport photo, for example. In those scenarios, there may be a back and forth email or a phone call here or there in order to make sure everything's working properly. But generally speaking, even if you don't upload all your documents, you will be contacted within 24 hours. I would just suggest keep an eye on your spam folder, because if we're sending you an email and you're 10,000 miles away on the other side of the world, I really can't blame Gmail or Outlook or Proton Mail from putting us in the spam folder. You mentioned cryptocurrency and everyone freaks out. So keep an eye on your spam folder if you haven't heard from us sooner.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. It seems like when you mention crypto, like you said, you mentioned crypto with your bank or sometimes even with communication. It does get sensitive that way. Do you see a problem? So the way people fund their account for you to trade for them is, like I've sent wire transfers to you, others as well. So obviously a wire transfer is how you would accept funds. Do you see problems though with some banks sending funds to your bank to buy crypto?
We run into some issues from time to time. It's a very small percent of the banks that we work with that we have any troubles with. Usually what we find is the wire transfer is very effective because even though it's a little bit dated and it's counterproductive, we're in the cryptocurrency space and doing a wire transfer, it's kind of a little bit funny actually. But the wire transfer does allow greater security for both the client and us as a business, whereas credit cards and PayPal, they're great if you're doing $100 here or there. But if you're wanting to actually invest in a market, we can't really afford some of the risks that are associated with those products. So for our business though, we definitely would have less banking issues than the majority of cryptocurrency businesses for the simple reason that we have quite thorough processes. We are regulated. We operate out of Melbourne, Australia. All of our liquidity is a function of our own business. We're not depending on all these ambiguous third parties in order to allow us to function. I know just myself, I've had issues in the past many years ago where I would withdraw from an exchange and 3 weeks later funds would arrive from a company I've never heard of before, from a bank account in a country I've never heard of before. And I'm there freaking out. My bank's contacting me saying, what's going on? It can be a really frustrating process if you don't use companies that are legitimate, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. So you spoke of regulation. So Caleb and Brown, you guys are fully regulated by the government or whatever entity regulates, I guess. I mean, if someone is like a little hesitant about using a broker, 'cause a lot of people don't have not used a broker before to buy cryptos, and I get some hesitation when I mention to my group about Caleb about brokers. I say they're used to buying on Coinbase or Binance or whatever or CoinSpot, and they're a little bit hesitant. Maybe it's because they're not used to a brokerage service buying cryptos. But what would you say to them to maybe like ease their fears? I mean, as far as like your regulation and as far as your compliance.
Yep, for sure. Well, the thing with our business is everything can be verified via public information. I mean, our business has an office address, a phone number. We have an Australian business number. All of the things which any financial service business in Australia needs to operate, we have, and that can all be verified against government databases. You can search our Australian business number and you can find out that our address is there and our phone number and everything is in order. What I will say is, in terms of regulation, there's a number of different regulators. GDPR is a global regulator for data protection. So that by virtue of us adhering to their data protection standards, we are able to operate with clients in more than just Australia. We can operate with clients all around the world. They are very serious though. In the event that we did not adhere to their standards, we would not be able to operate as a business at all. So that is probably the biggest one, I would say, and it's one that not many people are familiar with. Outside of that though, in Australia, consumer protection is really key. Unfortunately, the cryptocurrency space in its 10 years or so of development has been victim to a number of scams. Some exchanges have not operated the way that I would like them to be operating. And unfortunately, that costs the consumers at the end of the day more than it costs anyone else. Sure. As a result of that, you want to start a cryptocurrency business in Australia, you're going to have more than one regulator that you need to adhere to standards of, whether it's ASIC, which is our main regulator for companies in Australia, or the ACCC, which is a regulator that is entirely around consumer protection. And then there's ADCA, which our managing director, Rupert, is actually on the board of ADCA. That's the Australian Digital Commerce Association. And they have their eyes on cryptocurrency on the forefront of their interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So you guys are under the magnifying glass. There's no question about it, right?
Yeah, to say the least. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
situation where, and look, some people mention regulation as if it's the cryptocurrency and regulation. People think there's this grand disparity between the two of them. Like one is this liberal free world, and the other one is this dated society. The reality of the situation is that our experience with regulators is something that we welcome. It enables us to set a standard for other cryptocurrency businesses to operate by.
Mhm.
If we're trading with a client, we want to make sure we're wearing that liability. We have that accountability and responsibility so that at the end of the day, regardless of what happens in the market, coins are going to go up, they're going to go down. There's opportunity, there's risk, but you can rest assured that you have that healthy backbone of a responsible business that supports you.
Mhm.
And if we can do a good job of demonstrating that to the regulators, which we have, then they're just going to make sure that every other crypto business starts doing the exact same.
Yeah, it's interesting about, so you guys are probably more regulated than any exchange in existence. Maybe Coinbase might be under more scrutiny than you, or equal scrutiny. I'm not quite sure. But I would say definitely, in my opinion, you're more regulated than Binance. Binance.com. Maybe Binance US is different, but it's interesting. I got really, okay, I had a Binance.com account for a very long time. I've been in the crypto market since early 17, and the account was in good standing and everything. Recently, now I know that the Binance.com, if you're a US customer, they're eliminating all US customers now, but this happened several months ago where I was withdrawing some crypto from Binance.com, and they said, we are freezing your account because of unusual activity. When you hear unusual activity, that can mean anything, right? It means maybe you're wearing a different hat than you normally wear or something, but it
Yeah.
can mean anything, right? And it says that we're going to need additional documentation, like tier 2 documentation. I'm like, oh, no. I mean, they're basically wanting like hair and blood samples, and I get fed up with a centralized exchange like that because and I've read about people getting locked out of, and I don't want to pick on Binance. It could be any of these centralized exchanges, any of them, even the trusted Coinbase. That if you get frozen in your account, it takes weeks or months to get it reopened, and it's back and forth, emails, documents. And I said, it's not even worth. It's not worth my time to try to recover that account and the funds. I said, I'm totally done. Now, I was already using Caleb and Brown prior to this, but I was using Caleb Brown. I was also using Binance. And this whole Binance locking me out of the account really pushed me over the edge. I was like, I am done. I am totally done with this, because they can, anything can happen. They can say, your account is very suspicious. I mean, just because of whatever, they can make up anything. They change the rules and they don't tell you about it. That is one thing I do like about you guys, because I am dealing, and my clients are dealing with a live person, dealing with real people. If you're dealing with a centralized exchange, or a decentralized, of course, you're dealing with robots. I don't like dealing with robots too much. I'd rather deal with a person like you guys, because like if I want to make a trade, I email you, or I could contact you. I could call you if I want, but we always email, and you're always very responsive with your emails. And I appreciate that. And I know my members and clients appreciate that as well. I am totally turned off by these exchanges after what happened. And I know I'm not the only person that's gotten locked out. And I don't see that happening with you guys, because you guys have like you said, you have a phone number to call, you have an address to go to visit if you want. You have various means to contact you guys, as opposed to these exchanges where you're dealing with nothing. And no, I appreciate that. And I think there's a lot of value that you offer with that.
I think that just further to that point as well, I can give so many examples this year of periods where there has been uncertainty or clients have been stressed out. For example, Bitcoin Cash had a hard fork only a few weeks ago, and that it was very difficult. Pretty much every wallet would suspend withdrawals. Now, that's a situation where clients who purchased Bitcoin Cash should be saying, hey, Jay, can you please withdraw this to my wallet? And I'll just give them a quick phone call and say, look, because of this hard fork, there's a lot of controversy, a lot of moving parts right now. Is it okay if we send the coins out to you tomorrow? We're updating our company wallets. We're going through a compliance process with our ops team. And the client says, oh, that's no problem at all. That's a really small example, but it's a small example that goes a long way, because from our perspective, the market is ultimately unpredictable to a very large extent. There are new changes, there are forks, there are airdrops, new exchanges coming, old exchanges going. And at the end of the day, it's very important that people are having a stress-free experience. You want to isolate the things that you're worrying about, such as the market, such as the price. You don't want to be wondering if you have access to your coins or whether your account's going to be closed tomorrow morning. And we think that having that one-on-one customer experience allows us to ensure that accountability, and will definitely, regardless of what happens in the market, always stay true to that, because that's what separates us ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. It's about, it's the value. I look at value more than anything, because really people buy on value, not on price. Okay, really, that's the ultimate end game, is the value. So now, so speaking of price, I want to talk about this because people always ask me, what are the fees? What are the fees? Of course, people
Yep.
want to know what the fees are. I mean, I know what your fees are, but I would like for you to kind of talk about your fee structure. And yeah, let's just go from there. What is your fee structure?
Yeah, for sure. So for Crazy for Cryptos members, the only transaction fee is a 3.5% fee. Think of it like a credit card surcharge. It's the surcharge, the cost is only there when you execute a transaction. So you can have an account with us and do one transaction in a year. You can still contact us, ask as many questions as you like. That's never going to cost you a cent. The way that we work is, because we trade in so many different coins and there are so many different types of transactions we can execute, we do prefer the idea of having a direct, completely transparent transaction fee, as opposed to having price premiums, price spreads, risk of slippage, foreign exchange conversion costs, withdrawal costs, holding fees, the list goes on. It's a situation where if a client said, Jake, I want to purchase some Bitcoin, I want to send you US dollars to buy Bitcoin, I would say we are on the moderate to slightly more expensive end if you were just buying Bitcoin. That we're just talking price here. It's not necessarily a comparison of service.
Mm-hmm.
But once trades start getting a little bit more critical, once they start getting a bit more complicated, for example, the other day I had some clients who wanted to capitalize on Stellar's recent performance, and they wanted to get some Theta and T Fuel. And in that scenario, we can receive Stellar, trade it directly into Theta Fuel. They actually got some Zilliqa as well. So they got a nice spread of more difficult coins to trade in. Now, that's just one transaction, just through us. So you don't need to jump through numerous exchanges. You don't need to sell one coin into Bitcoin, wait a few hours, send it across to an exchange, cop another fee there. The way that we work is, you know exactly what the transaction fee is, again, 3.5%. So you know what's involved. You know we're going to get the best pricing for you. We're going to cover all the variables that arise from one end of the trade to the other end. And that way we're all on the same page. And if people want to work with us, they know what to expect. And if they choose that we're not the service for them, then we're still happy to help with any questions they may have. And if they reach out a year later saying, Jake, now I need you to do this trade and it's really last minute, we're happy to do so. So that's the transaction fees in a nutshell of Calvin Brown.
Yeah, well, that's really important. So you guys are essentially, time is money. If you're saving investors and traders a lot of time, because if they're buying 4 or 5 different odd coins like T-Fuel or Zilliqa or whatever, they may have to use 2 exchanges, sometimes 3 exchanges let's say if they get an array of coins. So you guys are basically are the one-stop shop, and you're saving. And that's the way I look at it too. And I'm glad you brought that up, is that you are saving a lot of time for traders and investors, because you can basically get any crypto, unless it's a project that launched 2 days ago. You can basically get any project. And I think, and you also said something too that I didn't really think about, that is you save on stress, because this whole crypto market is the Wild West. It is totally unpredictable. It's exciting, but stressful at the same time. And if you guys can alleviate that stress by having someone to talk to and be able to make a trade, fairly quickly, or sometimes within minutes, like when I email you, sometimes within a couple of minutes. Just that alone, I believe, adds a lot of value to your clients. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. Always, like I said earlier, is like people buy on value and not on price. Now, some people that they may just shop on price. Ultimately, they're really looking for value. There's obviously a few people that really, what I call them, they step over dollars to get to dimes. But I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Some people want to do that. They say, well, if your fees are 3.5%, I'm going to go over here and I can, get a lot cheaper fee on Binance or Coinbase or whatever. But ultimately, maybe you can elaborate on this. Ultimately, I think maybe you guys might come out, if you calculate the whole time aspect, and the hassle or the lack of or alleviating the hassle and stress. I mean, I think you guys might come out just as well as far as that goes. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it really depends on the coins. So I'll give you two examples. If one client says, Jake, I want to send you $1,000. I've got $1,000 with you sitting in your account. I want to buy Bitcoin right away. Now, say the client sent $2,000 and want $1,000 Bitcoin, $1,000 Ethereum. The reality is that Ethereum purchase is going to cost $35, as is the Bitcoin purchase. Now, we will get prices that are more competitive. But all in all, if you did buy that same $2,000 through some exchanges, some of the major ones, you probably would be able to save a few dollars here and there.
Yep.
If you went through some of the smaller ones, maybe not, but we won't comment on those because I don't think anyone really uses some of those ones. However, if the example I gave before of a client who used Stellar to purchase a fleet of altcoins, namely Theta Fuel, Theta, and Zilliqa, in that scenario, if you actually do the maths on having to sell Stellar into Bitcoin, move the Bitcoin to several other exchanges to get Theta, Theta Fuel, and Zilliqa, and then you got to withdraw the coins onto your own cold storage, and inevitably they're probably going to have a withdrawal fee as well. That in itself is probably already equal to or more than the 3.5%. However, more critically, and this is a point that is very, very commonly overlooked in the crypto space, if you go and try and buy a large position of Theta Fuel on a really small exchange, you see the price advertised, and then you finish your order and you're using Bitcoin to make that trade, you're going to lose so much money on the price premiums, the spreads, the market slippage, because some of these altcoins, they don't have the infrastructure surrounding them. Because we have traders in our business, we have full-time traders who are executing 100 plus transactions every single day. As a result of that, we know how to identify the best place to source these coins. We're not going to jump into a transaction and get the client a bad outcome. We're not going to pump Theta by 5% or 10% just to get the trade done for you faster. We're still going to get the trade done as fast as we can, but it's in everyone's best interest if we can get you a more favorable price. So particularly with the altcoin market, the actual cost that you're paying is it's not always in the direct transaction fee. It's pretty much always in the price premiums and those sneaky kind of additional costs and percentages that you really only know after the trade is done. So that's the one thing I'm always looking out for, because if you've got a great windfall on Theta and you want to sell that coin, you don't want to be the person crashing the price by 10%, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the slippage and all the other hidden fees. That some of the exchanges can be a little bit sneaky because you're not really paying what they're at the advertised price. I don't know what the set standard price is for like Binance, for example, but I think it's like they advertise like 0.5% or 0.02%. I'm not quite sure what those numbers are. Maybe you know it, but there is, if you, like you said, if you calculate the slippage and the hidden fees and the withdrawal fees, you probably come out, like you said, the same, or maybe you pay more than 3.5%. I'm not sure, but that is very interesting that you said that, because I've been reading about some of these hidden fees that these exchanges will slip in there, and like you said as well, that you don't realize it till after you get the coins. And some people don't really. And once you get the coins, it's kind of hard to do the math also for a lot of people, like, calculate, did I really pay only 0.5% or a 1/4% for I think it's a 1/4%. Did I really pay a 1/4% for this trade? It's really hard to calculate what those fees are once you get the coins in your hand. And plus with the market's moving it is tricky. And I think they can be a little bit sneaky. I'll leave it at that, but I'm glad you brought that up. That is interesting about the fees. What is your minimum order, by the way?
$2,000 for the Crazy for Cryptos group. And to elaborate on that, because I do get some questions there sometimes, the way that we work is we want to be a flexible service. Like, we want to be able to help as many people as we can. But I also don't want to be going too crazy with all these really small, tiny trades, because otherwise the accountant in our team is going to be crawling up behind me and being pretty upset. What I will say though is, if a client sends $2,000, whether it's Australian dollars, euro, US dollars, look, get in touch with your broker. You will be assigned a broker. Everyone in our team is really good. So don't feel like one broker is better than another or anything like that. We will be consistent. Now, with that in mind, most clients generally don't want to get too many coins because it's harder to manage. It's usually in everyone's best interest if you get a smaller, more compact selection. But $2,000 is our minimum deposit amount. And if you've been a client with us and you've done a few trades, some of my clients have done a number of trades, and they'll say, Jake, I just want to get a tiny little bit of theta fuel on the side. And that's fine. We want to help out, but it's a two-way stream, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So for $2,000 for Crazy for Cryptos clients, you could, I mean, you would have no problems buying 2 or 3 coins for that 2,000.
No, we wouldn't have a problem there at all.
Okay, okay.
And look, in the event that we can't trade in a coin, some coins such as Neo, for example, have to be traded in whole numbers. So we can't send you 7.23 units of Neo. We have to send you 7 or 8. So there are reasons like that as to why we need to have a certain minimum per coin. And then in addition to that, because we trade over the counter with other business to business relationships, a lot of the time we can't purchase less than $1,000 or $2,000 worth of some coins. So again, we want to be flexible, but we also need to make sure that our accountant isn't losing his mind.
Yeah. Okay. And your traders too. Yeah. No, I got you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know they're probably pulling their hair out sometimes for some of these trades. How many? You said you had 100 traders in your team?
Oh no, most of our traders will do over at least 100 trades per day.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So how many? Sorry, Jake. How many actual traders are in your group or in your team?
In Melbourne, we have about 20 odd staff,
Okay.
a combination of people who are client facing and operations staff. We have staff that are full-time on security, full-time on custody solutions. We have some staff whose full-time job surrounds ensuring that they can withdraw the coins from our cold storage solutions to client wallets. We even have staff whose full-time job is just to test your wallets. So there's a number of variables and a lot of human beings that go from the trade starting to the trade finishing. It's never just a broker that you're speaking to, as much as we sometimes get all the credit for it when the client has a good experience. The reality is that it's a lot of people behind the scenes. There's an upstairs area just over here, and there are some traders up there who can hear what I'm saying. So I've also got to make sure that I'm giving them all the praise they deserve.
Good for you.
Exactly.
So earlier you mentioned OTC. So you're able to buy and sell without actually moving the market then. Is that the case?
Absolutely. Well, that's really what I was commenting when I mentioned slippage and so forth before. We've had a lot of examples of times where clients have bought certain altcoins and none of us really knew too much about the altcoins at the time the client bought it, which is probably no surprise because they end up doing really well on those coins. And now lots of people are buying them. And some of those are legacy clients, the clients that signed up a while ago. They're looking back at the theta that they bought. They bought the things like theta and theta fuel. I know we're using those as examples a lot, but it is a fitting example. The coin has performed exceptionally well in 2020. And some of those clients, they've got their positions, they've got the coins in their wallet, and they're wanting to take a little bit of profit. Because the coins performed quite well, they've got quite a substantial profit they're looking to capitalize on. Now, because we're trading over the counter, we have numerous points of which we can offload or acquire these coins. In the event that someone's selling a large position of an altcoin, we may have several traders using several platforms and business relationships to complete the trade. And the reason we do that is because we don't have any risk of crushing the price or decimating the transactional volume or the liquidity. It ultimately means that when the client gets their invoice for selling whichever coins it may be into British pounds, for example, well, you're going to see the price and think, oh, but I got it at a pretty good price. There's a lot of moving parts involved to ensure that. The reality is, if we just went on a local exchange and said sell, enter, and pressed OK, you're gonna see it live on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. You're gonna see the price come down 10% and think, please don't tell me that was my trade that did that. So look, long story short, there, we're gonna want to ensure responsibility to all our transactions. So in the event that there are liquidity problems, the client will be the first person to know. And we're not going to pull the trigger unless we know we're going to get an outcome which benefits the client. It benefits the client. They have a good experience, works well for them, works well for us, move forward.
Okay, that's awesome. That is really awesome. Now you mentioned cold storage. Now how does that work? Now I know that you guys are storing some coins for some of my clients. Do you officially advertise that that you can do cold storage, like long-term cold storage for clients? Or is that just kind of like,
we don't,
or is this kind of like a side thing that you're doing but you prefer to send it to their wallet? How does that work?
I would probably define it as more of a side feature. Like the bread and butter of Caleb and Brown is ultimately the exchange and the transaction of cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
What happens from there is there's then a whole fleet of services that I suppose come after that. Whether it's contacting your broker to get a second opinion on something, whether it's you've had this stressful issue with your Ledger Nano S and you're freaking out and you need a professional to help out, we will make sure that we have the right staff to accommodate and assist you there. And we won't charge you for it as well.
Wow.
When
Okay.
it comes to storage, whenever a client does a transaction, regardless of whether they have wallets or not, there will always be a point in time where we have custody of those coins. Even if it's, for example, I know we did a transaction with you the other day, Dave, and we got the coins out to you probably within 20, 30 minutes. But nonetheless, there was still a window where we had custody of those coins.
Right.
Now, we use a whole variety of metrics and solutions when it comes to storing. Ultimately, we wear the financial liability, which means that you can rest assured that we're going to invest in that quality assurance. We use cold storage solutions, which will enable us to take these coins offline. And that way, if we are holding coins for great lengths of time, these coins are pretty much buried in the ground. They're offline, they're sitting idle. There's nothing too fancy going on. It's just security 101. And that's what we want at the end of the day. If clients say, "Hey Jake, look, I'm going out for the weekend. Can you give me a reminder of what you're holding for me?" Which is sometimes the case. We can send across like an official Caleb and Brown statement summarizing the holdings. It'll have the current value and the unit amount to the nearest decimal place. And then if you turn around and say, "You know what, Jake, I've got a really good opportunity to stake this coin, or I want to send it to a different wallet," whatever the case may be, it's always up to you. Well, the only caveat that we have is we want to test and verify your wallet first. So that way we can use our expertise to ensure that your wallet is functioning perfectly, it's receiving test transactions, and that way we can kind of be a safety net so that in the event that a client has a wallet issue that they're not aware of, a lot of the time we can actually notice that beforehand. And that way we'll call the client or send them an email and say, "Are you sure that Theta wallet is correct? Because it looks like a Bitcoin wallet to us." And it's just a quick 5-minute solution. We get the coins out to you. So long story short, again, we can hold coins for you. It's not something we necessarily advertise, but we don't charge for it. So it's whatever suits the client best.
Okay, that's good to hear. Good to hear that. Oh, I want to bring this up too. This is really important, and I'm picking on Coinbase, but they can handle it. They're a big company, but they they are down a lot, especially when the price of Bitcoin moves up or down. They are down a lot. It's almost a joke now. It's almost comical how often they're down. Now, this is, in my opinion, it seems like that you guys are a really good solution as well, that you don't have the downtime like some of these exchanges have during periods of volatility. Are you guys having uptime? I mean, almost all the time, virtually 100%. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. And the reason for that is we're not dependent on a single website login. It's not like with exchanges, and look, I'm definitely not here to criticize exchanges. They're very important in the long-term success of the cryptocurrency marketplace. But when they go bad, they really go bad. If you can't log into your exchange, like for example, in March this year, this COVID, the world's gone into complete chaos, and we saw Bitcoin go to about $4,000. The reality is Bitcoin was at $4,000 for a fleeting moment of time. And the reality is that not many people actually bought Bitcoin at $4,000.
Right.
I'm not trying to brag, but we had tons of clients who bought $4,000 Bitcoin, $5,000 Bitcoin during that period of time. And the reason we were able to do that is because we're trading again with other businesses who move tremendously large volumes of Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis. It means that we're not limited by website logins. We're not limited by the retail sector and the everyday kind of exchanges. Because we're trading on a business-to-business scale, it does mean that we do have that competitive advantage. And it works both ways. When Bitcoin crashes or when Bitcoin is, like the other day, reaching all-time highs, the last thing you want is a situation where on paper you've made a great profit, you're wanting to sell your coins, and not only you can't sell the coins, you can't access your coins. And that to me is that's what I'm going to be kept up at night, because not being able to sell it, maybe I can swallow it and deal with that and move forward. But not being able to access my coins when they belong to me and I've paid for them, that's another issue of itself.
That's a lot of stress. And, like we said earlier, this crypto market can be stressful as it is with the volatility. But to add to that, the fact that some people can't access their coins or sell them or trade them or move them, that is stress, because you feel disempowered. You feel powerless if you can't access your money. And I know that feeling. I've been in the space for a while, and I know that, I've experimented with so many things with, hardware issues. We can't get into, you can't get your coins because of they needed a firmware up, whatever it is. It could be anything. Or like recently,
Yeah.
semi-recently, I'm unable to get into my Binance account. I got coins sitting in there.
Jeez.
I'm just gonna let them keep it. But the lesson learned though, and what I want to do is help educate people and try to help them avoid the pitfalls that I've gone through. I've done it. I'm like I call myself the mad scientist. Experiment with this. I try to play with this. A lot of times I lose money. I play with wallets. I experiment with this, and early on I lost a lot of money with wallets and all these other things. But if I can help educate people and make this a little bit easier for them, make them breathe easier in this space, that's my duty. And I appreciate what you guys are doing too. I really think that you guys are helping people breathe easier in this space. You're making it a lot easier for investors, and with your turnkey services and your live custom service. I think you guys are doing a great job. So I appreciate that. And
thank you very much.
Jake, tell those traders upstairs that they're doing a good job as well.
The traders are doing a good job as well. Hopefully I get free lunch on them.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to ask one last question because, and this is for the last question, is exit strategies. Okay. Bitcoin skyrockets to 20,000, 25, or whatever it is, or any crypto skyrockets, and they want to cash out. So please tell me what's the procedure for someone to cash out? Obviously, it would be well, I guess you could do fiat or other crypto. What would you guys normally do?
For sure. We can pretty much trade any cryptocurrency into another cryptocurrency or a stable coin or a fiat currency. Believe me, clients get really crazy and flexible with some of the trades they give us, which is good. In terms of exit strategy, you'd want to have an account with us if you want to have that option. Again, there's no cost of having an account with us at all. There's no obligation. Mm-hmm. But we do suggest that because if you've got a small window to sell your coins, you don't want to be doing too many things at once. If you already have an account, you've already got a broker. You just send them a quick email, send them a text message, give them a call, and we'll get the trade done, regardless of its complexity. Mm-hmm. I would say that it's good to have a strategy because, as a lot of people say, no strategy is pretty much a strategy to fail at the end of the day. So you want to have an idea of what you want to achieve, and then you want to know how is best to go about that. If you want to sell things into US dollars, maybe you want 50% of your proceeds in US dollars, 30% in a stable coin, a small amount in Bitcoin, and maybe you're planning to, I don't know, maybe you want to go to Thailand soon, you want to bring another currency with you. Whatever the case may be, it's just important to have that strategy, communicate it to your broker so that we can put everything in place. We can actually sell coins at target prices as well. So if you say, I want to get out of Theta when it hits $1.04, random number I pulled out of a hat there, in that scenario, we can put those things in place so that you can go about your day. You could be, I don't know, you could be at a Starbucks or something like that, and you'll just get a notification. You'll check your phone and think, oh, looks like Theta went up and I got my US dollars. And if we've already got your bank details, then by the time you wake up the next day, the funds will probably already be in your bank account in full from Caleb & Brown.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you guys can deal with virtually any country. Is that correct?
Virtually, yeah, the vast majority of countries.
Okay. We
have clients all around the world, the majority of which would be in Australia, in America, in Europe, Southeast Asia, you name it really, as long as it meets all of our kind of compliance standards and so forth, which the majority of countries do, of course, then it's no problem. And we trade in a number of different fiat currencies too. Most of our transactions are in US dollars, British pounds, euro, but we are quite flexible. So all I would suggest is, if I had to leave with one comment, it would be, it's worthwhile having an account so that at the very least you can contact someone, have a 5-minute phone call, answer all the questions you may have. If you need help with something, that's what we're here to do. And then we can move forward from there.
Yeah, that's what I've told my members and clients that as well. I said that even if you don't plan on trading with Caleb & Brown, go and open up an account now, because you want to dig the well before you're thirsty, and you want to have a backup plan. Just having having one way, one exit way, or one exchange that you use is very dangerous. I've always said this, that one is a very dangerous number. You don't want to have one key exchange. You don't want to have one key employee if you're self-employed. You want to have one key something, because if that one key thing goes away, then you're kind of done. And at least I tell people, at least have you guys as an auxiliary plan, minimally. Let's go ahead and get an account going in case something goes awry with, say, one of these exchanges when they tend to go down when you need them the most. I think it's a really important strategy.
I think so too. And look, there's no harm in, even if you create an account, you receive an email from your broker, you send them an email asking you questions. You might say, look, I'm in this time zone. Can you please give me a call at a time that suits? Honestly, like, we get asked so many questions. The only thing that we don't like is when people don't have that confidence in clear dialogue, and they don't have if clients aren't communicating with us, then that just means we're limited in our capacity to help. We've had very stressful situations. We've had clients experience a whole variety of good and bad things in the crypto space before calling us. And we've always found that a quick phone call, a quick Telegram signal, WhatsApp message, always leaves everyone better off and a lot happier and more confident. And that's whether we trade with you or not. So yeah, I think you get the message there. It's good just to reach out.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, awesome. Okay, Jake. Well, that's all the questions I got. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Any last thing you want to say before we sign off?
Look, to be honest, I think we've kind of covered the bulk of it. Look, yeah, it's good to kind of have these conversations. We can clear out any of these questions that people may have. And if people do have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always here to help. Okay, awesome. Well, so you guys are guys and gals watching this video, which will probably be on, definitely be on YouTube, and it'll be on theta.tv. So look in the description below. If you follow that link, that link will save you about 30% in trading fees with Caleb and Brown. So be sure to follow the Crazy for Crypto's link. Reduce your fees from 4.5%, as much as 5% down to 3.5%. So, all right, this is Digital Dave. I will see you in the next video. Jake, I really appreciate your time today, and we'll talk again soon. Take care. Thanks so much, Dave. Take care.
Bye now.